Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai. All praises unto Yahweh Shimi Al Shai, Waha Rokah Kadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Honest you brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. This is going to be a relatively short video going into Bible basics. This will be one of hopefully an installment of videos, okay, a playlist, if you will, of videos. And Lord's will, I'll put it within my videos as a playlist, so you can watch these basics and know how, what certain key topics within the scriptures mean, okay. And in knowing what certain key topics within the scriptures mean, you'll have a better understanding of what greater, more difficult things within the scriptures mean, okay. So this first installment is going into the word sin, okay, and ultimately what you're gonna see within these scriptures when we're talking about the law and when we're talking about sin and therefore the redemption from sins. We are talking about the actions the things, okay, that was not permitted for the Israelites to do, and the Most High had a particular judgment for that, which was going into slavery, okay, which was us losing our heritage, which was us being the last hired, first fired, okay, which was us not in having any ease amidst these nations, okay, and the redemption from that hell that we were catching. Because when you look at Venezuela right now, them people are catching hell, okay. When you're looking at the Mexicans right now, them people are catching hell. When you look at the Negroes out there within America, okay, feeding off of that GMO food, okay, listening to that rap, hip hop crap, okay, listening to that, and watching all of that homosexual BS on TV, they're totally destroyed. But when you look at the other nations, okay, like the Moabites, they'll come from all the way from China, okay, set up businesses within America, okay, get all kind of credit and prosper within the same neighborhoods where you got our people living there, okay, selling them garbage food. Okay, when you look at the schools that these different nations, these different heathen nations go to, these are different schools that they go to. Okay, they got a better education. Okay, they got a better social economic background. Okay, for a lack of a better time, and that's all dealing with the law and the breaking of the law, which was given unto the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so this basically goes to show you that although these people sin and they're gonna get a judgment for their iniquity, okay, the sin that's prescribed within the scriptures as pertaining to the law, okay, that was for the Israelites, man. Okay, and the judgment of that was going to go on to the Israelites. Okay, so it says, whoso committeth sin transgresseth the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. Now let's go to the book of Psalms, the 147th chapter and the 19th verse. Okay, so the book of Psalms, okay, 147 and 19. Okay, so this is Psalms 147 and 19. He says, he showeth his word unto Jacob, okay, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel. He hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgment, they have not known him. Praise ye the Lord. So you can see there clearly, okay, the Lord gave the law, statute, commandments unto the 12 tribes of Israel. Now you go to where a lot of people, they say, okay, the New Testament, that was going to this, that, and the third. Well, first and foremost, the testimony of Yahweh Shai was what? Okay, of the spirit of prophecy. Let's get into that scripture right quick, and I'll come back to this. Okay, and the prophecy, we're going to see about the prophecies, man, in a second. And you're going to see they're dealing with who? They're dealing with the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay, so let's go to the testimony, okay, of Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorant calls Jesus. Okay, the testimony of Yahweh Shai, you're going to find out this is dealing with prophecy. Now, when you deal with the scriptures in terms of prophecy, okay, you find out some mysteries, man. Okay, for instance, the virgin birth. You deal with that on this historical thing that they push out there within the churches. You find out that history that they're telling you was falsified, meaning to say it was created. It's fake. Okay, when you go into the times of the Lord being born, that was via having Mary having sex with Joseph. Okay, but when you go into the pagan religion, you find out they push the pagan, they mix the pagan religions along with the religions of who? along with the religions of the Israelites, because you had a lot of Israelites during the times when the Greeks was coming in on the scene and they was turning into the Romans, and the Romans had control of the known world at that time. You had a lot of the pure Jews, okay, the Israelites, okay, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and all 12 tribes of Israel, okay, the remnant of the 9 tribes, which was with Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, because the kingdom was split, and the 9 tribes went over into the Americas, okay. Them Jesus that was up there, you had a lot of them that was in the government that was really seduced by the way of the heathens, man. So when you had the Council of Nicaea, you had it to where the certain Jakes that was on the scene, they said, what? Let's mix it all together. Here it is, you got it to where you got schisms. You got it to where one party wants to go with the, what was known as, I believe it was the pious ones, that wanted to go with the pure, raw Judaism. And then you had another party that was going with what? They wanted to be Hellenists, man. They wanted to be all out Greeks. So they said, look, let's just appease both parties. Okay, because remember, when we're reading about the scriptures, you're not just reading about the history of what happened with particular people. You're not just reading about prophecies. You're also reading about how a governments rose up within Israel and they fell apart. Okay, all with reference to what? All with reference onto the prophecies and the scriptures, man. When you're reading about the Bible and the Lord coming back, you're reading about how a government was going to be established. So when we was established as a province, okay, and you had Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which made up the house of Judah, okay, you had it to where you had a government within that, and that particular government, okay, had to choose whether they was going to be pro-Greek or against Greeks. You have factions within them that was pro-Hellenism, and you have factions within them that was against Hellenism, and they came a point where they just mixed it together, okay. But when you go via the prophecy, you find out that whole pagan doctrine of Easter, you're going to have Easter in a couple of days, that's not biblical. You had Christmas, so-called Christmas a couple of months ago, that's not biblical, man. The virgin birth, not biblical, okay? Because if you go via prophecy, you get the understanding of the scriptures, man. Okay, so we're going to get what's the prophecies going to say as it pertains to the Lord? We're going to see that, okay? So it says, Revelations, the 19th chapter and the 10th verse, and it says, and I fell at his feet to worship him, and he said unto me, see thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant of thy brethren, okay, and that I have the testimony of Yahushai. Worship the Most High, for the testimony of Yahushai is the spirit of prophecy. So if you ain't into the prophecies, man, you ain't coming in the spirit of Yahushai. And what you find out is when you go via the prophecies, man, everything makes clear cut sense, man. Okay, but when you go via what's known as religion, okay, what you taught within the churches, what'd you find out? You find out all kind of craziness, because you go out there into the churches, they say virgin birth. You open up the scriptures within the Hebrews, what is it, 7th chapter on the 14th verse? Okay, you find out the Lord was born of the seed of David. You're like, well, hold on a minute, how can he be of the seed of David? And still, it's confusing. But when you go via prophecy, it's clean cut. So let's find out what the prophecies means, okay, as it pertains unto the law. Okay, and sin and transgression. Okay, for finding fault with them. Finding fault with who? With everybody? Okay, did the Lord just find fault with everybody, or did he find fault with a specific group of people? Hence the fault, which was what? Which was iniquity, which was them going off. Okay, which was them having been given a path and not following that path. Okay, for finding fault with them, he saith, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant. Okay, with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Now let's go to the book of Psalms 147 and 19 right quick. Okay, because this is going to deal with the first covenant. Okay, pretty much. Okay, so Psalms 147 and 19. Okay, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgment unto Israel. This is the first covenant. Okay, he hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known him, because they didn't make a covenant with the Lord. Okay. The second covenant, which most people call the New Testament, of which really the testimony of Yahushua is prophecy. The prophecy says that what? That he hath, for behold, the days come, meaning to say it was prophecy, saith the Lord, when I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel. Hold on, what? With the house of Judah? Where the rest of the people? Well, guess what? Going back onto the same scripture that we had just read in a second ago within the book of Psalms 147 and 19, he has not dealt so with them. Okay, so as for iniquity and as for the redemption of sin, okay, and the redemption back onto being back onto the Lord, it didn't pertain to them, man. It wasn't for them, because they was never in the first place. Okay, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt. Okay, you didn't have Moab up within us. You didn't have Ishmael up within us when we were taken out of Egypt. You had just Jake's up in there, and the Most High said, "Look, this is my covenant, man. Keep it." And we didn't keep it. Hence the reason why the Lord had to come back and shed his blood so that we was going to be grafted back into the back onto the body, man. That we was going to be at one with the Most High. Okay, so that the wrath of the Lord wasn't going to be upon us forever and ever, man. Okay, this is why we called it the good news, because we had gone off on this. See, you got people out there to, oh, it's the good news, it's the gospel. Oh, Lord is, God is good. Yeah, but why? Why is he good? Because we had gone off to the point that he had to sell us out there into captivity and suffer one of the worst captivities that's ever been witnessed, okay, upon the face of the planet. That's how hardcore that captivity was. That was a judgment, man. That didn't happen. That wasn't some random event. That was a decision made by the Most High from the foundations of the earth as a punishment, okay, for not following the covenant. So when we say that this is the gospel because we don't have to go through that hell anymore, man, it's the good news because the Lord made a path, man. It was the good news because the Lord had made a path to go back onto his happy side, man. You got a kid and you whipping him, man, okay? You might have the mother come up in there and say, look, that's enough. Man, that's what? That's good news because you ain't getting that whipping anymore. Well, the same thing Yahushua did when he came on the scene. He said look, he was the mediator between us and the Lord because we had gone off on the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. So he had to establish a new one, and he wasn't going to establish that with everybody because he have not known them. You see, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. Because this is the covenant when I will make with the house of Israel and with the house of Israel, all of Israel. Remember, it was said Judah, with the house of Judah and the house of Israel. Look, it says the house of Israel, meaning to say those two nations, okay, the two kingdoms that were split up, when we put back together, everything was gonna be nice, everything was gonna be crisp. Okay, there wasn't gonna be no beef between the Latin Americans and the Negroes, man. We was gonna be nice, one big family, one big happy family. Okay, in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And it says, after those days, saith the Lord, and I put my laws into their heart and mind and write them, okay, in their hearts, and I'll be to them a power, and they shall be to me a people. Okay. Now I pretty much, most of the points is here. Yeah, we could wrap it up on that. Okay, so hopefully that was of edification. That's what it means to sin. That's who sin. What's to where sin is affected. Not to say these people ain't going to be judged for their iniquity. You go to the book of Amos, the 9th chapter. It says the Lord eyes the Lord power upon the sinful kingdom. Okay, so this kingdom is sinful, and they are going to get judged for that. But when we're talking about the laws and sinning and being grafted back in from that sin, we're dealing with the 12 tribes of Israel exclusively. Okay, so hey, Nineveh got destroyed for what? For their iniquity. Okay, for the idolatry, their witchcraft, etc., etc. Okay, but when we're talking about being grafted back in, when we're talking about the Lord having mercy upon sin, we ain't talking about everybody, man. We're talking about the 12 tribes of Israel, or who are going to have it to where these nations, after they fell, once Babylon destroyed, which is America, okay, but for the iniquity that was in America, well, guess what? Who's going to have to keep those nations in order so they don't keep getting destroyed? It's going to be those same 12 tribes of Israel, man. Anyways, that's a different lesson for a different day. With that, I'm going to say, oh, praise unto Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, double honor to the apostles, a great millstone, okay, and oh, praise unto Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, Wahara Kadash, Shalom.